I'm going to apologize in advance if this is particularly loud, but I'm running a quick stream on painting and or base coating and priming my minis. I have an order that will be going out soon, and I needed to get started on them. First, I'm going to prep the primer. Base Vallejo gray is my usual preference. That's my compressor. So I usually do about um, 1 part water to 5 parts primer just to thin it out so it moves through the brush a little more freely. These little scientific squirt bottles are awfully helpful. Stir. Cap on so you don't make a mess accidentally. Pressure's a little high. I usually run my primer through at about 35 psi. Here's the loud part. And that's all it takes to get the primer on the minis. I prefer an airbrush because it puts less propellant and other chemicals into the air, doesn't bug my asthma, gets a very thin but very complete coating on with very little effort. Now, while I wait for those to dry, I'm going to clean my airbrush. So I don't have much left over in the cap, as you can hopefully see. Big rainstorm outside. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to squirt out the majority of it. I don't care if I make a little bit of a mess. I have this table just for airbrushing. So most of it's cleaned out. And there we go. Take a little Medea airbrush cleaner and swirl it around. And now we just spray it out until it's empty. Take it out, please. My lovely assistant brought me paper towels. Second use for the squeeze bottle. Give it a good rinse. The Medea tends to get a little bubblier, a little soapier, a little sudsier than the Vallejo airbrush cleaner does. It's whatever you like. I've never had a problem with either. Oh, didn't quite get the entire front cleaned out. There we are. That's much better. Now we're just going to run the water through until it's clear. Got a nice clean flow coming out of just water. Sorry about the quality of the camera. This is kind of my cheap one. I wanted to get something set up quickly. Yes, this is the exciting part of the stream. So of the minis in front of me, four of them are for that order. One is a phalanx that I'm doing just for me project because I'm silly. I really am still terribly entertained by the fact that BattleTech's original designs were all borrowed. There's there were some legality questions in the long run, but they did have licenses originally to do this. Then Harmony Gold and some of the other folks got upset at how they were using their properties, so they took some of the mechs away. Well, the Phalanx, and this is the modern incarnation of it, was based on one of the Destroids from the original Robotech or Macross series. And I'm doing a series of Battletech mechs where I'm doing original Robotech paint jobs, and this is going to be one of them. Oh, we've been empty for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and do that one last test, and I like to spray a little water through it in my hand to make sure it's coming out clean, and it is. So I've got a clean airbrush, and now I'm going to base coat a couple of things. So he's going to go back here. He's not getting painted yet. The rest of the mechs in question are all part of the Inner Sphere Command Lance. The Wasp and Stinger are both Valkyries. The um, Archer down here was a Destroid. Was it the Defender? No, it wasn't the Defender. But and then this was a Glaug or a Zentradi Officer's Battle Pod. So I'm doing 5. There are actually 2 more, a Warhammer and a Rifleman. I just haven't gotten around to setting them aside to give them the UN Spacey paint jobs. Okay. One of the products I sell on my Etsy store are 3D printed display stands for your Battletech mechs. I sell them in a couple of different styles. And this person asked for them in a dark gray filament. I didn't have enough dark gray filament to get their order out in time. So instead, I offered to just do a quick paint job on them. I'm not charging them for this. It's real quick. This has already been primed and it dried overnight. Now I'm just going to reapply this to the bottom. A little sticky tack on a magnetic base. And now since I'm applying paint, I really want to avoid getting any more oils from my hands on there. I washed them beforehand, but just to be sure. Now he wants a dark gray. I could use a really dark gray from AK. The catch with the AK is you really have to thin them to put through an airbrush. Might as well though. Okay. As I said, AK is thick. Um, that was kind of their joke for a while, apparently. I was informed. So before I put AK paints through my airbrush, I give an extra long shake. Sometimes I'll use my basically a nail polish mixer. Works very well for these. But with AK, as with all of my paints, I add some chemicals to the brush ahead of time. Both Vallejo, their airbrush thinner and the airbrush flow improver. With AK, I do a little over a 50-50 mix between the paint and the airbrush thinner. With AK, I also put the chemicals in first. Now, the flow improver mostly just keeps the paint from drying. You don't need much of it. This bottle has lasted me several years. Okay. Gonna give it a good mix. color and flow look right. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a test spray onto my booth. I'm also cutting the uh, air pressure down to about 30 to 32 psi for a base coat of paint. Mm. Still a bit thick. I'm going to add a touch of water. There now, it's starting to move better. Now it's starting to spatter. Hey, Jess. I know the lights make it hard. I need to adjust the lights in here so I can still see the model, but still get the airflow. Really don't like that part of it. There we go. We're getting a little bit of tip drying, and one of the ways to combat that is to just regularly swab it. And that takes off the dried paint. It's still spattering. Oh, there it goes. Now, you ask somebody why they usually use an airbrush for a base coat. It's because it's normally quicker. That's also why I don't tend to use AK for going through an airbrush. I just had it here. Normally I'd use Vallejo or Pro Acryl. Those are my choices. They're thinner. I like the size of the pigment in it. It just works better through everything. I just had the uh, AK handy. Oh, back a little. That's the peril of using stick and tack. Try the turbo from Vallejo? Not yet, but that's my rack of Vallejo. And Army Painters up top, but most of the Army Painter are their um, speed paints with a few effects thrown in. There you go. I also use a lot of Turbo Dork and Citadel paints, but they're over on that table. Okay, I've kind of gotten tired of using this, so I'm going to dump this pot because I'm only half done a coat, and I'm going to grab the dark neutral gray from Pro Acryl from my other desk after I clean this out real quick. Dark neutral gray. And because this stuff is thick as asphalt, I'm going to leave the paint in it, leave a little air cleaner in it for a second while I grab that other paint. Sorry, dark. Correction, dark warm gray. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm shoving the tip of this down into the end of the pot here, which is where it feeds down towards the nozzle. Stubborn paints are going to want to hang up in there when they dry. This is narrow enough that it creates enough of a stream to get most of it out. Now, got some fresh cleaner in there. Wipe this down. Wipe the nozzle again. Still dirty. There we go. Nice strong stream. Here, I don't know if this will help. No, it really won't. That's great. Crank the pressure back up to 40. Let it push it all out. Since it's still being stubborn, I'm going to go ahead, disconnect. It is okay for a while to leave the cleaner just in the brush. It will not hurt it. Grab my spare. Air's flowing fine. You can kind of see it spraying off there. Water's coming out of this real well. I got this real clean last time I used it. Okay, so now I'm sure there's not even any dust left in it. Start again. Thinner. Put a lot less in this time. Flow improver. Good paint. Stir. Let's see. You see down here? Spray is much faster. Oh, gotta turn down the. There we go. Huge difference in how fast the paint comes out and the coat you get. I now have a 100% complete coat on this, and oh, seconds versus how long I was fiddling with that. So you have to pick the right paint to go through your airbrush too. That one's done. Here's a completely bare one. And I need to refill. Well, we'll go with what I have. Just see the color. Huge difference. Those who were paying attention noticed that I violated one of my own rules. I didn't put the cap on. I could have made a real big mess real easily. Same pressure, a higher paint to thinner ratio, and you still get significantly faster results with the right paint. You may ask why I'm doing the bottom. I find that the corners hold their paint a little better if I also do a little spray around the bottom. Still didn't put quite enough paint in it, but huge difference, a lot faster. Yeah, I'm happy to give you a crash course in airbrushing. My whole setup is fairly portable. This breaks down into a small uh, rectangular box, not much bigger than the filter there. It's great. My only complaint about this, and they've changed it on newer models, is the lights and the fan operate on the same switch. You can get it so that they operate separately. So that was all I was going to stream for today. I'm going to put this up on my YouTube for anybody who's curious to see what I did. Again, just brief overview. I did a couple of BattleTech minis that needed to be primed, and they still need to be base coated, but that won't take long because I'm going to use the right paint for it. And I've got a couple of BattleTech stands that I had already had primed, but I wanted to get a base coat on and demonstrate that the right paint makes a big difference, especially through an airbrush. So I hope you guys have a nice day, and I'm going to go play with my kids.